a chorus of voices calling on you to devalue the naira, to allow market forces to prevail. Are you prepared to reconsider?
No. I have explained that countries that play around with their currencies are countries that have enormous production capacity. They have factories in place. Their infrastructure in terms of power, communications, and security are virtually perfect. Nigeria virtually imports everything, from rice to toothpick. Now, if we don't have the money to import those things, what is the value of further developing our naira?
Well, you're going against the advice of the IMF.
Why not?
The IMF is suggesting
if it is against our national interest, why can't we go against the IMF advice?
Another.
That was late President Muhammadu Buhari giving reasons why he refused to bow to the pressure of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, and the World Bank to float the naira. And the reasons that he gave shows clearly that he was a better manager of Nigeria's economy than President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, there are so many things you can say about Buhari, but what you cannot take away is that he was better than Tinubu in the management of Nigeria's economy. That clip you saw exemplifies the reason why he was better than Tinubu. Of course, if you weigh Buhari along with others who have been president since 1999, someone like President Obasanjo, President Yaradua, President Goodluck Jonathan, the performance of Buhari is below them in terms of economic management. He's below all the PDP presidents, but he is far ahead of Tinubu when it comes to the management of Nigeria's economy. And that was exemplified from what you heard in that interview. What many people do not know is that despite his assertion there, his grandstanding that he's not going to bow to pressure to float the naira, he eventually bowed to pressure in June 2016 and floated the naira. You can look at it on your screen. That was a report by AP, Associated Press, on that Nigeria has finally floated the naira. That was 2016 under Muhammadu Buhari. He bowed to pressure eventually because the pressure was so intense that he bowed to it in 2016, June 2016. So by June 20th, 2016, Buhari wanted to experiment with this flotation that IMF and World Bank had been disturbing him about, and he floated the naira. And what happened was a shocker for Buhari. It was worse than he had anticipated, because he pegged the naira at 197 naira to the dollar. That was the exchange rate that Buhari was protecting the naira, despite all the protestation by IMF and World Bank. So once he floated the naira on June 20, 2016, the naira crashed and plummeted to 370 naira to the dollar at the black market. It was so alarming to Buhari. And because Buhari was far more, it is strange to say this because many people will say, oh, Buhari didn't obey court orders. Of course, he didn't obey court orders. There are so many court orders he violated and all that. But once he discovered that this experimentation is going to cause disaster for the country, after the naira was floated and it crumbled or it crashed to 370 naira to the dollar, Buhari knew that it is not sustainable. It was not sustainable. So what did Buhari do? Buhari stopped the flotation of the naira. Buhari stopped the flotation of the naira. Unlike Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who went ahead with the flotation. While the flotation was on, in fact, the flotation eventually intervened, because if Tinubu had not intervened in the flotation, we wouldn't have the naira where it would have passed $2,000, 2,000 naira to the dollar now. But Tinubu did not listen quickly the way Buhari listened and understood what I was about to befall the nation. So Buhari stopped the flotation as fast as he started it. Did you hear me? Buhari stopped the flotation as fast as he started it. So that was when Buhari made up his mind and told MFLA, naira has to be defended, whatever cost it needs, because we don't have the capacity to float the naira when we are not a productive nation. It's just, you have him on that video. Many of the points he raised there was also part of the points that Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last election, was hammering upon. Before you float, you must make sure that you are productive. That was why Peter Obi's mantra at that campaign in 2023 was to move Nigeria from consumption to production. When you are a consuming nation, you cannot float unless you are looking for disaster. And that was the disaster that had befallen Venezuela today. Even though it's a rich oil producing nation, it was the same thing. Even Nigeria itself, what we are passing through today is because of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's determination to satisfy the IMF and the World Bank. Okay, now let us look at, to show you that Buhari himself and MFLA, the governor of the central bank at the time, that they were determined to ensure that they don't float the naira. You know, after the experimentation of 2016, and Buhari and the MFLA found out that Nigeria is not structured for flotation of the naira, the IMF keep on piling pressure again, keep on piling pressure, to the level that even Nigerian experts were siding with IMF. There was a meeting that was held with stakeholders in 2019 between the MFLA and the economic experts who were in line with the ideas of IMF and the World Bank. MFLA warned that the poor will suffer if we float the naira. That's why we're not going to float it. So IMF has their agents in Nigeria in the name of economic experts who were pressurizing Buhari and MFLA, and they resisted it. To the level that even at the twilight of that administration, in 2022, when MFLA was attending the spring meeting of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank that was held in Washington, D.C., United States, IMF and the World Bank were still piling pressure on Nigeria to float the naira. But MFLA in that occasion told IMF to their face and World Bank that they are not going to float the naira. And then this is what MFLA told the Guardian at the sidelines of that meeting. He said they want us to free the exchange rate. And you do know that this has some impacts on the exchange itself. When you allow that to happen, you will have an uncontrollable spiral on the naira. Now, what he said there was prophetic, because when Tinubu became president and decided to float the naira as fast as he removed the fuel subsidy, the country was about to crash economically. And why did Tinubu float the naira? Because it's not as if he's ignorant of the consequences, as Buhari was able to understand, and from what you saw in that video. My guess is that the reason why Tinubu floated the naira was to please the IMF and the World Bank, so that they will be on his side. Don't forget that after the election of 2023, Nigeria was like becoming a para nation, where they believe, the international community believed that that election was rigged. Because that election was perceived to have been rigged, and many people believe it was rigged across Nigeria, there was desperation to gain acceptability in the international community. And one of the best ways to do that is to show that you can dance to the tune of the IMF and the World Bank. That was why you also saw that in Nigeria's quest to intervene in Niger. When there was military coup in Niger, you see Nigeria was ready to go to war to protect the interest of France before Tinubu was called to order by the National Assembly, majorly by Northern senators and House of Reps members, who reminded him of the affinity between the Niger Republic and Northern Nigeria in particular. And that was why Tinubu could not drag us into war, because he wanted the intervention to remove the military junta that removed a so-called democratically elected government in Nigeria Republic at the time. So it was part of that desperation for international acceptability. If you think what I'm telling you is not true, it was when Lai Mohammed, the then Minister of Information and National Orientation, it was after that the election that he traveled to Washington DC and United Kingdom, addressed press conferences to talk to media houses in London and UK, Washington DC, directly, telling them that Peter Obi did not win the election, that it was Tinubu that won. It was in those meetings with international media organizations that he revealed the secret that INEC deliberately switched off the transmission of election results in 2023. But what he claimed that because they identified threats to their system. But you and I know that that was not true, because the Amazon Web Services that provided the backbone of the protection for the INEC server and everything confirmed that there was no threat to the INEC server throughout that election period. But just this, I'm telling you this for you to know the reason why Tinubu was desperate, that he has to embrace all the things that IMF and World Bank wanted, because he was looking for acceptability by the international community after the election of 2023. So in all, whatever you may be said about Muhammadu Buhari, which there are so many, in the area of corruption and all that, he was elected to fight corruption, but corruption got worse under his administration. He was elected to fight insecurity. Insecurity got worse under his administration. But one thing you can't take away is the fact that he was better than Tinubu in the management of Nigeria's economy. If you are in doubt, what was the value of the Naira under Buhari compared to under Tinubu? What was the price of a bag of rice under Buhari compared to Tinubu? What was the price of fuel under Tinubu compared to Buhari? What was the exchange rate of the Naira, both at the black market or the so-called parallel market and the I&E window, the import and export window? You see that Buhari was far better, far more knowledgeable about how to manage the economy of Nigeria that is import dependent than Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I don't know what you think about this video that has resurfaced to show that Buhari is better than Tinubu in the management of Nigeria's economy. But whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video, and if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, God will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.